Okay, so 4 seconds, right? 4 seconds to make a killer first impression. I mean, that's what this article is claiming. And I gotta say, I was skeptical. Like it just seems so fast.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, right?
It really is. What can you really do in 4 seconds that would make that much of a difference?
Well, it's interesting because the article actually dives into the whole, like the way our brains kind of make these snap judgments, often without us even realizing it, based on just like the tiniest bit of information.
So like, what is it about those first few seconds that matters so much?
Well, they really go deep into body language. And, we tend to think about like appearances first, right?
Right.
But this actually suggests that maybe it's more about our physical presence. Maybe that's like the most immediate thing that people pick up on.
Oh, really? So even before they register like what you're wearing, how put together you look, they're noticing how you're holding yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. The way we stand, our posture, whether we make eye contact, even like how open or closed off our stance is, all of that sends these really strong signals. Like the article even uses this example of someone slouching and how that can like instantly create this negative impression.
I can see that, yeah. It kind of makes you think about those like primal instincts, like if someone's physically closing themselves off, maybe it gets interpreted as some sign of fear or insecurity. And that doesn't exactly scream approachable or trustworthy.
Right, exactly. It's like our brains are kind of hardwired to, assess threats, and they do it really, really quickly.
Wow.
And so, even though a slouch isn't a real threat, it might be triggering some of those, those ancient alarm bells, even if it's just on a subconscious level.
So if you want to make a good first impression, mastering those nonverbal cues is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting. It's not just about appearing confident to others. There's actually this whole concept called the mind-body connection, which basically suggests that the way we hold our bodies can actually influence our internal state too.
Okay, now that is interesting. So you're saying that like even if I don't feel confident, if I stand up straight, I make eye contact, I project that confident body language, it can actually make me feel more confident.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of research that's starting to support that idea. Our posture, our facial expressions, they all send these messages back to our brain, and they're influencing like our hormones, our mood, our stress levels.
Yeah.
So yeah, even faking it till you make it can actually make a difference.
Yeah, it's wild, right? It's almost like our bodies are sending these messages back to our brains,
It's like a feedback loop.
Exactly, a feedback loop. So even if you don't feel 100% confident, like going into a situation, just like adjusting your body language can actually kind of shift how you feel on the inside too. Okay, so we've tackled that first S, right? The stance, that physical presence. But a good first impression, I mean, it's got to be more than just how we stand in a room.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where these next two steps come in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right, so we're talking style and sparkle.
Style and sparkle. Okay, I like it. So let's break it down. Let's start with style. This is where like the visual stuff comes in, right? What we're wearing, how we're put together, all that.
Exactly. And the article makes this really interesting point. It's not necessarily about, like being conventionally attractive or wearing expensive clothes or anything like that. It's more about what your appearance communicates about you.
Okay, I like that.
Like, they use this great example of this guy at a party, right? And he wasn't like particularly striking in any way, but his clothes were, well-fitting, they were stylish, his shoes were polished, he had on this really subtle but nice cologne. And apparently it made like a huge impact on people.
Yeah. It's funny how something as simple as a scent can be so powerful.
Oh,
I once knew this guy, and he wore this very specific cologne. And I swear, years later, if I get even a tiny whiff of it, it just takes me right back to that time. It's like this crazy sensory time machine or something.
It really is. And, that's why this article is stressing this whole idea of presenting yourself, well, not for other people, but like as a sign of self-respect.
Right.
And then that kind of translates into respect for the other person, too.
Yeah.
You're showing them that you care about the interaction, you put in some effort. And I mean, that just speaks volumes.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like on the flip side, if you show up looking like you just rolled out of bed, it might send the message that you don't really care that much, even if that's not your intention at all.
Exactly. And then sparkle. I know it sounds a little maybe whimsical.
Yeah.
But it's really about the energy that you bring to the table. So think warmth, approachability, that certain, je ne sais quoi, that just makes people want to be around you.
Okay, so are we talking about being like the life of the party, because honestly, that's so not my style.
No, not at all. In fact, they actually talk about this guy who commanded attention, but without being the center of attention.
Okay, I can relate to that.
Right. He wasn't like the loudest one in the room, but he had this quiet confidence, this like aura of positivity that just kind of drew people to him.
Interesting. So it's not about putting on a show, it's more about being genuine and letting like your personality come through.
Yeah, exactly. It's about authenticity, for sure. But it's also about being present and engaged in that moment and with those people. It's like, think about it, our emotions, they're kind of contagious.
Okay, yeah, like if someone walks into a room and they've got this infectious laugh, you can't help but smile too.
Exactly. Or like on the flip side, if someone's just radiating all this stress and anxiety, you can almost feel it,
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like this weird energy drain.
Exactly. And so if you're bringing positive energy and open heart, if you're genuinely interested in the people around you, that's going to shine through. And that's what makes you magnetic.
It's so true. It's like that saying, people might not remember exactly what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yes, exactly. And that feeling, that connection, it often starts right there in those very first few seconds.
So to recap our little 4-second formula here for a killer first impression, we've got the stance, the style, and the sparkle. And it all goes back to being authentic. So stand tall, be open, show that confidence through your body language, dress in a way that makes you feel good and shows off who you are, and then bring your best energy. Be present, be engaged, be interested.
Yes, beautifully put. And it's funny, we've been talking about this in the context of like dating and first impressions and things like that, but honestly, these principles, they apply everywhere, job interviews, first dates, even just like navigating a crowded room.
Totally. It's like having a secret weapon for your social life.
Exactly. And the best part is, it's not about manipulating anyone or trying to be someone you're not. It's about taking those first few seconds and using them to showcase like the most authentic, most confident version of you.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I'm already finding myself paying more attention to those first impressions, the ones that I'm putting out there, the ones I'm picking up on from other people. It's like I've unlocked this whole new level of like social awareness or something.
It's amazing, right? Once you start noticing these little details, these subtle cues, you'll be amazed by how much you start to pick up on.
It's true. So, to our listeners, as you go about your day, I challenge you, become a first impression detective. Observe the people around you. Pay attention to those first 4 seconds and see what you discover. You might be surprised by how much you can learn about somebody else and about yourself in just the blink of an eye.